Welcome, and thank you for tuning in today to the human training your dog is begging you for. If you are needing help understanding your dog or their behaviors, you definitely come to the right place. I'm Charles Countryman, co-founder of Canine Culture, and as always, Laura.
Good morning.
Co-founder of Canine Culture is here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome.
Awesome. And as always, we have senior trainer and head of dog evaluations, Wyatt. How are you?
Good. It's a great day.
It's a great day. Laura sounded more
Excited.
Genuine about that.
Well, it is a great day.
Okay.
Every day is a great day.
And if you're tuning in because you need help understanding your dog better or learn more about creating behaviors you'd like to see more and hopefully replace some of those pesky behaviors you'd like to see less, that's the intent. And today's podcast is definitely right up that alley. A lot of people, that come in with their dogs for training. Number one issue is leash pulling, as we all know. Number two issue is jumping. But in that mix of number one and number two is distractions. And usually that's what it's all about. Leash pulling is because of distractions. The jumping is because of impulse control, and you are their distraction at the moment. So if you're struggling with distractors or distractions, we are going to be talking about how to compete with distractors. If you are not first, you are last.
Oh, no.
Pretty much, right? So, what's the big reason why people struggle with their dog with distractions?
Because they don't use attention getters that can scale properly, in my opinion.
Okay.
Treats and toys are pretty static. You can't make that chicken more valuable than the chicken is in the dog's brain.
Right, because the chicken is only worth as much as the treat is only worth as much as the treat is.
Yes.
You can't escalate its value when there's a squirrel or a rabbit present.
Yes, and that rabbit it can start running.
Right. Now it escalated.
Yes.
Now it's chase. And
yep.
That's the funnest part of
everything.
Yes. Is the chase. So definitely toys, treats. One of the drawbacks, I can't make it more valuable right now because I need it to be more valuable. The value is what the value has been established. But what people should be doing is creating more value in themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Before they need to compete against a competing motivator. Competing motivator could be the squirrel. It could be just something that they want to sniff. It doesn't have to be a running squirrel.
No, it could be a person.
It could be a person. It could be another dog. Squirrels are just the easy one because it's like the squirrel is the nemesis of every dog born.
You would think they would
catch it.
Give up eventually.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I think I mentioned this on the podcast once. Years ago, a squirrel fell out of a tree right as I was letting the dogs out to the backyard, and he fell from high. You could hear him thump when he hit the ground, and it kind of phased him, and the dogs got him.
Yeah.
To this day, they're sure there's a squirrel about to fall out of a tree. From now on, it's like that happened once in your entire 10 years of being alive, George. It's never going to happen again.
The chance is never zero. It might.
Yeah. So the problem is people are trying to get their dog to pay attention to them when they're distracted.
Yes.
That's the wrong sequence.
Yes.
You need to have your dog being able to pay attention to you when they're not distracted.
Yes.
So how I look at it, if you can't get your dog to pay attention to you on a fairly innocuous walk, there's no real serious distractions present, then you have 0% chance of getting your dog to pay attention to you when you need it the most.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling with that, and some of you might be, well, yeah, okay, that's what I'm struggling with. What do I do? Don't be trying to do that on the walk.
Yep.
Practice at home the behavior you want to see when you need to see it.
It's like the equivalent of telling your dog to sit about 10 times and it finally sits. You're ruining sit.
Yes.
It's when you feel like you can sit. No, I asked you, please sit right now.
Right. That's why you don't want to repeat the command over and over and over because it's almost optional.
Yes.
Or they do it when they get around to it, like you said. So, yeah, if you are struggling with getting your dog to pay attention to you out in the world, then you need to practice attention games in your backyard, in your living room, in your bedroom, where there is no competing motivator whatsoever until when you say their name. So we typically just say our dog's names, and that means look at me, instead of adding a whole nother name, like say
Look
their
at
name
me.
and then look at me. It's like, no, just say their name.
Watch me.
Their name then kind of becomes a command.
Yeah.
If you can't do that in your house, you're never going to be able to do that at a park. If you can't do it in your backyard, you sure can't do it in your front yard. If you can't do it in your front yard, you can't do it on a walk. So that's basically the sequence you should be working on. Yeah. First, in the house. You get 99% of the time, bam, they look at you every time you say your name. Now you go to the backyard. Get to that 99%, now you go to the front yard, because there's potentially more distractions in the front yard.
Yep. And I would say that's why we are so effective, is we've got a big enough facility. We can pretty much recreate a home environment and get away from the other dogs in training. Yep. So you can do the right sequence of training.
And then bring them back to the higher distractors, other dogs, when they're ready to be able to.
Yeah, and we're not forcing it either.
Right.
It's really, you can, if they're not ready for, like I say, if you got a reactive dog and you're trying to be able to get their attention around other dogs, you don't need to start with dogs.
No.
Start with toys. Start with stuff we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
And build yourself up to dogs. It's just a build up. And the hard part is not getting greedy.
That's true.
Once your dog starts, it's clicking in their brain and they're starting to learn all the training. They're going pretty fast.
And now, you get greedy. You put them in a situation they have not been trained to handle yet. And then you get disappointed in your dog. You should be disappointed in yourself because you set your dog up to fail.
Well, I think what people do the worst, it's like teenagers. Oh, you knew better. Then you hit teenager land and you screw up. I'm going to overcorrect and punish the crap out of you. And then the dog just rebels. And it does bad things, shut down. It's bad. You got to slowly build up. And if you screw up, just go back a couple steps.
Yes.
Then start building back up again.
I think that's what a lot of people do. They don't make themselves or training fun and exciting and new and different. They try to do the same thing. And like Wyatt said, when the dog does something, messes up, then they punish the dog. Well, they should punish themselves and be more exciting and more fun than the dog's ever had. If you do boring, if you just sit out there and just do the boring thing, come. It's boring. After a while, the dog don't want to come because it's boring.
It's boring.
So you got to be exciting, new, everything, fresh.
Yeah, in group class, I call it the prison warden voice. When the dog's having a bad day, or the human is, people tend to monotone angry, come, sit, stay. We've all done it.
I call it mom's voice.
Or the mom. No, not yelling. It's just this angry monotone because the dog's screwing up and you're disappointed and frustrated and you got to stop that person in group. Like, stop. Be happy.
Be happy. Smile.
Inflect your voice. Like,
let your dog take a breath.
At the end of the day, you're training a dog, not a human. Calm down. It's okay.
That is very true. Yeah. The mom voice, though, comes in when your dog knows, the dog knows.
But you should really save
that for
parent voice for there's a car coming.
Yes. That dog's got to stop.
Yeah, emergencies.
Yes, and that's exactly what you should do.
Otherwise, you use mom's voice.
And it becomes nothing.
It becomes meaningless.
It becomes like an episode of Charlie Brown, the teacher in the background. Wah, 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 wah. The dog just tunes it out.
Yeah.
It's like saying sit 15 times.
Yeah, same thing.
Just ruins
dog just tunes it out.
Yeah.
Yep. You're just making noise at that point.
It is sad. We get dogs come and they know no. Most dogs know no. If you're on
they
a
come
walk,
preloaded with that.
If you on a walk and a dog starts coming to you, if you say no, go home. Most dogs listen to that, which is kind of sad. Dogs should.
Yeah. If you run up to a strange dog runs up to you on a walk,
and you get that mom voice out,
and you say no, go home. Most dogs will do that.
Or bad dog, go home.
They know the word no.
So when you're working your dog, training your dog, you should have more happy things with good or yes or attaboy, whatever your markers are, and use the no the least amount.
Here's, I think, where a lot of people screw up. They don't realize that marker words are super important in combating distractions.
Yes.
So one of the reasons we teach marker words, good, yes, break,
Yeah.
I forgot one. Good, yes,
one,
break. Nope. Or no. Is they act, once the dog thoroughly truly understands a marker word, they act as a bridge for us to expedite all learning in the future.
Yeah.
Because the marker words let them know, hey, I'm on the right path, or I'm cold, I'm not warm right now, through a marker word. It just speeds up all future learning. That's one reason. But the other reason is, especially the word yes. When we're teaching yes, what we're really teaching is there's a reward, but we do it so many times, we're creating a chemical reaction in the dog's brain, so they have a dopamine dump.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, the word yes is a reward because it created a sense of happiness.
Complete happiness.
Boom, just like that. So that yes word is super important when you get to distractions, because it's not like they decided to secrete a chemical in their brain. They heard the word yes and it just happened. So now when you're competing against a distraction, you mark it with yes because they did appropriate. That was valuable to them. That is more valuable than the treat in your hand because it's a physiological change in their impact in their body. A treat is not a physiological impact in their body. It's just a treat.
Well, and people are already doing it. They just don't know they are.
Right.
Go to the park. You want to go for a walk. You want to go.
Yeah.
You want to.
We
want
use
dinner.
The word. Do you want to do a W?
Yeah, at our house.
Because if we say walk, all the dogs start whining and getting excited because they know we're going to go for a walk.
And it doesn't matter what you're doing that day.
If you have a word like that, and it probably is walk in your house too, that you see your dog have that behavior, that is what's going on. Their brain is just dumping happy juice.
Yeah.
And that's how you want to look at the marker word. You didn't mean for the word walk to become a marker, but it sure did.
Oh, yeah.
That's basically a great analogy of how yes works.
Yep.
If you really keep working it, and you work it in the front yard, you work it in the backyard, you work it everywhere you don't need it. So when you need it, it's there. The other thing I think a lot of people screw up when they're in a distracting environment, they just throw out a litany of commands to the dog. No, come, stop, leave it. I mean, the dog's the wrong sequence. So I think it was either Saturday or Sunday, I don't know. At night, in the evening, I went out to the backyard and I let our lab, Dolly, come with me. And I don't know what I was doing. I was grabbing something out of one of the vehicles, and there were two rabbits standing right next to the pickup. And boom, they took off. Obviously, what'd she do? Boom, she took off. Hey, rabbits run.
I'm a dog.
Nice, thanks for bringing me out. And yes, of course, she's running after the rabbits over to the next yard. What I didn't do is say, Dolly, leave it. Dolly, no. I just said, Dolly. Once she looked at me, then I said, leave it, come. So what I want you to do, leave it. Now what do I want you to do? I want you to come. And I had to repeat it one time. And then she came back. Even though the rabbits were still running, I thought, yeah, that's the right sequence. You first get your dog's attention. If you don't have your dog's attention, if she hadn't looked at me, I sure wouldn't have said leave it. I sure wouldn't have said come, because she's not going to do either because she don't even hear me yet.
Yep.
You got to start with look at me, then I'll give you valuable information on what the next step should be between us.
And I think a lot of people don't know that if your dog's not looking at you, your dog's not listening to you. It's not that they're blowing you off. They
do not hear you.
They do not hear you. Their mind is on whatever's in front of them that they're looking
They're
at.
in prey drive.
Yes.
Well, it's the problem with their senses being so ridiculously stupid. Like,
Well,
they tend to hyper focus on
if you're looking at it from pure prey drive, so fight or flight. When we go into flight mode, our adrenaline pumps, so does your dog, so does any animal, and start shoving more blood into the muscles so we can run faster. It's a physiological change that's occurring.
Yeah.
So when you have a dog and he's going into prey drive, what's he need? He needs to run fast, he needs to see well, and he needs to smell well. Does he need to hear?
Nope.
He did not need to hear anything. So literally that sense is muted, so to speak, as an example, because his body is giving everything he needs to effectively DNA driven catch that prey. Speed, sense of sight, and smell, but mostly speed and sight now because he's actually in the chase.
Yeah.
Hearing isn't important. So that's why just raising your voice and yelling, I guess if you did it long enough, he'd probably look at you, but
Maybe not,
who wants
though.
to do that? That's why people
Yeah.
come in here. They're tired of yelling at their dog over and over and over. Most people just have the wrong sequence. You start with, look at me. I need your attention. Then I'm going to give you information to do.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly not going to tell you any command until first I get you eyeball to eyeball looking at me. And if you cannot do that with your dog, that's what we're really talking about, competing motivators.
Yes.
Those two rabbits were competing motivators. I was very happy that she came right back. Not that it would have been a big deal or a catastrophe she hadn't. We have a great neighbor, and they would have ran under her fence and she would have came back. But I was very happy that she literally gave up the chase and came right back, even though they were still running away and she was still in it to win it.
I did that with a wild cat in my neighborhood a couple years back.
Yeah.
And I didn't even notice the cat was in the middle of the front lawn until about halfway to my front door with Pickles, and don't have a leash on because we're literally just walking from that car to the front door because I didn't have a garage at the time. And I'm like, oh, it's a cat. Oh, diseases everywhere. And it's a stray. I've seen the cat before. And he luckily went about 3 steps into the yard and he got the parent voice. And I did the and he Pickles. Then he looked at me and we walked in the house, but he was all tensed up, ready to get that cat.
Yeah.
And he probably could have too, because it waited till we were about 5 feet away from the dumb thing before it bolted. And I didn't even see. I saw it about the same time that he did.
Right.
Yeah.
Or else we would have went back in the car and I would have shooed the cat away.
Right.
Cause
Now, how old is Pickles, roughly?
About 2.5.
He's got to be older than that now.
He's same age as Dolly. He's about the same age as Dolly. Yeah.
Okay, because Dolly, our lab, is 2.
Yeah. Pickles is a street dog, so we don't know exactly.
He was like 6-8 months-ish when we got him.
I thought he was 4. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He's still a young
guy.
He was about Abby's size when we first got him.
Yeah. The reason I mentioned that Dolly is 2, if you're listening, 2 is an adolescent.
Yes.
So they're still, think of a teenager. They're basically teenager juices. They're just goofy.
For like early 20s.
It's not like you got a 6 or 7-year-old dog that you've trained all your life.
Yeah.
All right, great. I have this awesome dog now.
Yeah. Well, they've all just seen everything. They've seen all the stray cats. They don't care about them anymore.
It's not, and that a lot of people say you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Definitely
Sure you can. We teach old dogs all the time, 10-year-old, 12-year-old dogs.
Yep.
I think where that myth comes from is older dogs aren't as curious about everything. Yeah. They have, like you said, Wyatt, they have seen it. It's just that leaf blowing in front of them is not that fascinating to them. A puppy? What the hell is that? That's a leaf. Everything is new to them. Everything is fascinating to them. Old dogs like to learn new stuff. They like to do stuff just like any dog does.
Yes.
Well, they've also been doing bad habits for 8 years now instead of 6 months.
What I was going to say, the hardest thing about teaching old dogs is teaching owners that have had this dog
to change their routines.
Yes, we have to educate them so hard that dogs don't live in the past, they live in the now. You're living in the past, so you're expecting your dog to do what it did in the past. You got to let the dog live in the now and go for it. And it's hard. And I understand if you have a dog that's reactive to stuff, it is hard.
It's hard not to tense up because you're expecting it.
Yeah,
the problem is you tense up, you just made your dog tense up.
We have a dog in our group class. He's this big meathead pit bull, and he's got the best mother ever because he's ripped fingernails off, he's broken toe. I think he broke her toe once because he just wants to drag her everywhere.
Right.
And it took me 4 months to get her to use the leash correctly because she was so afraid to not have tension on that leash.
Yeah. She didn't trust him to not have tension on the leash.
Yeah, and she didn't trust herself to use the tools correctly because I would grab the dog, and within probably 20 seconds, he's healing perfectly right next to me.
Correct.
And she's like, it's not fair. And I would explain to her I had to untrain that fear in her brain.
Yeah.
I think she did it on accident once. And she was like, oh, wow, it works. I'm like, you can't even see it to believe it. You had to do it on accident once for it to finally click into your brain.
That's so funny because in group class after training, typically the dogs that struggle, it's not the dog struggling, it's the owner, and they keep reverting to bad habits.
Yes.
And, we're trying to be polite and say, just give your dog some leash, give him a little slack, he'll make the right decision.
Yep.
But they don't trust. And then the problem is, your analogy was great. You put a whole bunch of tension on the leash. You're literally, that owner is training the dog. This is how I want to walk with you. So now you always need,
Yeah.
and then you grab the dog, 20 seconds later, you have a loose leash because he knows that's how to walk with you.
Yep.
Yeah. That was a segue off of distractions.
Yes.
What are other distractions? So we practiced in the backyard. Again, you might think, well, there's no dump trucks in the backyard. How can I practice that? It's not that you're practicing the specific distraction that your dog struggles with.
Mm-hmm.
You're practicing focus and attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what you're practicing, because it's the focus and the attention that you need when you see the distraction out in the world. If you don't have that in your backyard, I said at the start, you have almost 0% chance of having it when you need it.
Yes.
That's what you need to be practicing. So I'm doing a private lesson today. The dog's awesome for everything except when they go to the part of their route when they walk their dog. They said they struggle with it seeing one specific other dog. And I asked him, what motivates the dog the most? He's psycho for his ball. And they said, well, yeah, but I don't know how to use the ball. That's easy. You practice in the backyard by throwing a ball, and then you say, leave it, get his name, get his attention. And then when he comes to you or leaves it, you throw him the other ball.
Yeah.
That's what he's psycho for.
Yeah.
So now you're teaching him, you're wiring his brain that if he leaves it, there's a reward. The reward is going to be the ball. And then eventually, the balls all disappear because we're teaching him the behavior we need him to do.
Yep.
But you're using that tool, his ball, or in this case, 2 balls, to demonstrate to him what exactly you need him to do. Yeah. The first ball is important because that's your competing motivator.
That's what I specifically did with Pickles a lot. I did 2 balls. I would throw the ball and not let him get it. And you start, leave it, sit, and he's quivering like a leaf. So he wants that ball.
Yeah.
And then you would let him get the ball and let him come back to you.
Right.
And it's just more, you can turn playtime into obedience training.
Yeah,
and impulse control.
Control. Make it harder.
Playtime should be, you should incorporate some training into all play. Sit, come, stay, heel, then throw the ball. Do a myriad of mixing up some commands like you just did. Throw the ball, don't let him go get it. If you can't throw the ball and not let your dog go get it, you're gonna struggle with distractions out in the world, because there's gonna be a squirrel that he wants more than that ball.
And that is one of the most easiest things to train. Just stand on the leash. Yeah. Don't let them get the ball.
It just takes repetition. You're not gonna do it in one 5-minute session.
Yes.
And it depends on your dog. Like George, it took a long time. He still wants to chase cars, 10-year-old dog. But that was the hardest thing to teach him not to chase, because he's a prey-driven, high-drive, crazy.
Wanted to chase a car.
Anything. Yeah. He loves to chase stuff. But that's exactly what we did. We made him. He had to sit to get it. And we've lived in areas that people on acres, 2 acres. So sometimes as he got better, I would actually let him chase the squirrel. So he never knew when that day was that he was going to be able to chase that squirrel. But a lot of people can't do that because they live in cities.
Where they
where they live. But George, so it depends on your dog. So I want everyone to get frustrated. Some dogs are high drive, and George is very high drive. And Dolly she's a lab, so she's little drive.
Yeah. Typically, the higher drive you have, though, that's where toys are going to come in to teach the exact opposite of what they're doing. So how we look at it is whatever I want the dog to do, a great training tip is teach the dog the exact opposite.
Yes.
So if you want your dog to come, for example, then you should also teach the dog to go away, because it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
In this case, if I want you to leave something, then that means I'm going to say, leave that, but I'm going to give you something over here.
Yeah.
You're teaching them the exact opposite. It just helps the dog form a better picture, because then they have black and white. They have opposites to work from. All right. So any final thoughts on competing motivators?
I would say just figure out what your dog's motivator is, and then just use that. And it's going to be different. Like Pickles is this crazy playtime roughhousing dog. Abby, my other dog, just wants very nice, gentle love and affection.
Yes.
That is her main motivation in life, is let me lick you. You just got to figure out which
Abby.
works for your dog, then use that against them to make them a better dog.
And as you grow your bond with your dog, most dogs, you're going to be where you're going to be. That's
Good Lord.
but there's some dogs that some breeds, especially guardian breeds,
very aloof.
But what Wyatt said is the way you need to do, and take it slow. Give your dogs, realize your dog is a dog, lives in the picture, lives in the now. So
catch them doing things right.
Yes.
Don't always be the professional of catching them doing everything wrong.
And get those marker words down, because yes is amazing.
Marker words are super important. Super.
Yes, you got to remember the praise. No one likes to be nagged all the time. Yes. Don't nag your dog. Be fun and happy.
Yes. Be somebody that your dog actually wants to come back to.
Yeah. Here's a human perspective on a marker word. When we get a Christmas present, or a birthday present, any present that's got wrapping paper on it, you can really look at a child and really see this visually. Mm-hmm. They're excited about opening the present. It could have been a pair of socks in there. It's the excitement of the unknown. So that's kind of where you're struggling with the distraction. But the excitement, when we have a present, we can't help it. It's our brain, because we were trained since little to enjoy opening things up. That's where your marker words is. It's like wrapping paper.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You should use your marker words and train your dog so well in marker words that the word yes and good means good, is like wrapping paper to them. It just means good stuff. It gets them excited. Yep. All right. Well, hopefully our discussions today connected with you and helped you if you're struggling with an area. And if you are struggling, we would love to help you and your dog in your training journey. So reach out to us at K9 Culture, k-9culture.com, and we can discuss any challenges you're having with your dog and how we can be part of helping your dog understand how to be a joy to live with you. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook, K9 Culture Dog Training DFW. Again, if you're needing help with your dog, we would love to help you. It doesn't matter really how far away you are. We've had people drive 8-12 hours all the way from Las Vegas to bring us a dog to train. Next week, on next week's podcast, we're going to be, if you are planning Memorial Day, summer vacations are right around the corner, so we'll be talking about boarding your dog, what to look for in a boarding facility, what not to look for, bad things to look for, good things to look for, how far out you should be, all things so your dog and you have a good vacation. You're not worried about your dog the whole time. So that will be next week. And until then,
go have fun with your dog.